Libra, this is your tarot reading for the month of October. Just first glance at it and I'm going, oh no. Oh no. I've obviously just done Leo's, and Leo's didn't look that good from the start. But as I got into it, what I thought were physical negatives were psychological negatives. And somehow they don't seem so bad. It doesn't mean to say you're not going to go through psychological turmoil, but they're there to teach you a lesson. Is yours the same? I do hope so. I do hope this is a deeply psychological, and I can see reasons why it might be. In fact, I can see a big reason why it might be. Overall energy is out of temperance. Many signs are being called to temperance. Is it a more temperate lifestyle? Is it giving up on hedonism? Could well be. Or is it seeing the opinions of others, taking a middle path, taking a middle line? It could be both, you know. In the past you were bold, you were brave, but maybe jumped to getting hold of the wrong end of the stick. So is this psychological? Just maybe. Right now you're feeling powerful, authoritative, maybe even somewhat conservative, but certainly feeling powerful. In the future we have the devil energy. Is this an unhealthy attachment or addiction? Do you know, I think it could be. Because if you remember, the overall energy is that of temperance. So maybe this whole reading is about you clearing yourself of unhealthy attachments. The energy that leads to the outcome is being betrayed, being stabbed in the back, having the rug pulled from under your feet. Now, I'm not certain it was in exactly the same position, but this was a card that we had for Leo, and it turned out to be nothing like as bad as I thought it was. But I've got to say, I never like to see this energy. What would offset this energy is working with others. Working with others on it as a team. How strange, eh? You know, we had that emperor, which suggests, you know, is an emperor a bit of a tyrant? Are you a bit of a tyrant? Is that what this is about? And it's urging you to try and work with others. I mean, Leo's was a little bit like that, not as strong, but a little bit like that. The outcome from being stabbed in the back is you walk away from things. You get disillusioned and walk away from everything. Libra, this is definitely an interesting spread. Please stay with me as we try and understand it. Overall energy is that of temperance. Quite a lot of signs have been having this energy this year, including having it in this position whereby it dominates the reading. So very important. What's it about? Well, it could simply be urging you to lead a more temperate, less hedonistic lifestyle. And I think often that is a part of it, because we're all being urged to raise our vibrations, and by being less hedonistic, we will raise our vibrations. But also, I think we're being urged to try and understand others. Try and understand what's going on in the world through compassion. Trying to maybe see those people we see as evil as simply being children who know no better. And trying to take the middle ground. There's no doubt that there's psychological manipulation all around us, including behavioural programming by the security services of our own governments to force us into hardline positions on all sorts of things. So I can see temperance also being about that. Now, I've just talked about hardline positions, and in the past we've got the Knight of Swords, brave, bold, and the most fearless knight in the deck, but does jump to conclusions. As I say, we're all being behaviourally programmed, not only by our own governments, but by overseas governments. As you can tell, originally I'm British, and recently we've had these riots occurring in Britain. And okay, we will never get to find out all of the manipulation that has gone on with the British public, but increasingly we're finding out that much of the misinformation and much of the fanning of the flames of the riots in Britain was due to foreign actors. Now, I'm not saying that the British government are beyond criticism, because certainly during the health crisis they admitted to using behavioural programming, which sorts the UK populace into particular psychological profiles that they can manipulate. Now that does cause these sort of hardline attitudes that do end up as being riots. Nevertheless, I am suggesting that overseas actors, and I know exactly who they are, but I think this might be demonetised if I was to point the finger. It's you can check on it, it's well known. But overseas actors have definitely, and it isn't the ones that the UK government have said it is, overseas actors have definitely fanned the flames of it, and I think you've been jumping to the wrong conclusions on things, just like the British public have. Yes, that would fit in, you see. Now you're feeling a little bit smug. An authority, a figure of power, a figure of authority. The sort of person that people look up to, a little bit conservative. So, just taking, for example, the UK riots, there's a lot of people who have very strong opinions, including all the politicians, People who see themselves as opinion formers, who have very strong opinions on what was behind it. But not one of them is pointing to this psychological programming and manipulation and indeed fake news by overseas powers. They're all blaming this and that and that and that, and there's always a grain of truth in everybody's argument. And remember, this is all about taking the middle ground. So there's always a grain of truth in everybody's argument, but then they take it further and further and further and start often coming out with what are, frankly, conspiracies, some of which date back to the Middle Ages, So I think you're one of them. I think you're one of those people. And you probably do it with the best intentions in the world. I don't think you're doing it because you're a bad person. I think you truly believe these things. And you're probably saying to me, oh, come on, I've seen this, I've seen that, and that means that, and that means that. We will always find evidence for our beliefs. But if we dig a bit deeper, we do begin to understand that there is alternative evidence. Now, in the future we have an unhealthy attachment. What do you have an unhealthy attachment to? I just wonder, given all we're talking about, if it's simply an unhealthy attachment to being right. I remember when I first went to, they were called polytechnics in those days, but first went to university, and one of my international relations lecturers, who went on to become very famous, he had a poster in his office that said, "I may have my faults, but one of them isn't being wrong." I wonder if that's you. I wonder if that's you, Libra. In which case, this is deeply psychological. It is about you learning a lesson, learning a hard lesson. Yeah. I wonder. I mean, it could be about many things. These, you could have other sorts of addictions or what have you, but I've just got the feeling that you're somewhat addicted to believing that you're always right and having somewhat inflexible thoughts. Yeah. Now something dramatic happens to change your path. Let's just go with my illustration of you having quite firm opinions, being something of an opinion leader. And those people who follow you turn against you, pull the rug from under your feet. It's that sort of an energy that we've got here. You know, this feels almost like a politician. You know, politicians, I mean, they wouldn't stand, would they? Well, no, I mean, I think most of them stand nowadays because they think they can make money out of it, but traditionally, politicians wouldn't stand unless they thought they had something to offer, thought they had the right opinion on things and could make a difference. And slowly that gets eaten away, and slowly they begin to realise that those very people that they thought adored them actually hate them. This is the energy here. I'm not saying you're a politician, but it's this sort of an energy. You get this rug pulled from under your feet and you have to make a huge change as a result. Now the way to have avoided some of this, or to avoid the outcomes, to avoid some of the negativity, is to have worked with others. Now, if I'm right that it's about opinions and about your feelings and your views, listening to the opinions of others, understanding where they're coming from, which of course is what the Temperance card is all about, would be the antidote to these entrenched opinions. Gosh, this is making too much sense. I've got one more energy to describe the outcome, but then we'll take a clarity, because have I gone off on one? I don't think I have. This is making too much sense. So sounding out with others to find out if you've actually got things right. And the final energy, or the outcome, is you get disillusioned and walk away. Let's go with you being a politician, with very firm opinions, an opinion leader, and you know, you've been shouting your mouth off about this and that. Maybe you got a massive majority like Keir Starmer did in the UK, or General Prabowo did in Indonesia. It doesn't take long to begin to understand that that huge majority has nothing to do with popularity, and you get the rug pulled from under your feet. Maybe you lose your seat, you know, maybe you can no longer be a politician, and you decide, well, I'm not going to look for another seat, that's it, I'm going to walk away from it, I don't care, I've had enough, goodbye. It all makes total sense, but let's go for some clarity. So I seek clarity on this devil card. What is this sort of addiction? Unhealthy attachment. First card we get is the Three of Wands. This is a card of action planning, of saying, okay, I know what direction I want to take, but how do I actually get there? The next card is a card of poverty and no mates. And the final card is one of deception. Does that make any sense? Doesn't on the face of it, does it? So the first energy is one of sort of action planning. You've already decided on the options, and this is just planning routes for the options. Is this talking about control? Remember, we're looking at what is your addiction or your unhealthy attachment. You're attached to being in control. You're attached to wanting things to go your way. Maybe you're a bit manipulative. This isn't, there are cards that would suggest to me manipulation, and they're not here. So I don't want to say that too strongly, but you know, if you are an opinion former, then maybe you're planning out, okay, this is how things are, and therefore this will happen, this will happen, this will happen. A little bit Machiavellian I'm feeling here. Now we have an energy of either poverty or no mates or both. Normally my readings, this would mean you. So how would that fit in? Well, remember, you get the rug pulled from under your feet. So maybe you, and I said, you know, if you're a politician, it meant that you'd maybe lose your seat. So that no mates would, well, no, that no mates, that would make sense. But let me give you an alternative. Maybe this is how you behave. I've said you're a little bit Machiavellian. And could it be that you're Machiavellian through greed, through feeling that your gain is others' loss is your gain? Is that a game that you play or have played? I think it might be. You remember the past energy was the Knight of Swords. I said he was the fiercest knight in the pack. Well, I can't help but thinking that maybe one explanation for this next energy is he who lives by the sword dies by the sword. And that you've got to positions of power and authority by climbing that greasy pole, by stabbing others in the back. And here you are being stabbed in the back yourself. Well, no, not even alternatively. It is saying that, yes, you have stabbed people in the back. You have acted deceptively. And these are the things which have to change. Gosh, it's so powerful, this reading. I'm going to summarise for you. Libra, I wasn't expecting it to go this way, but it has. Libra, rather like Leo's, this reading has taken an unexpected twist. An unexpected twist because it's deeply psychological. Looking at the spread, I thought, oh no, it's terrible. It probably is, but it's psychological. It's about how you must change. So I don't necessarily see it as that bad, but it may come as a shock to you. You're being urged to take the middle ground, to understand the opinions of others, to appreciate the other side of the argument. And that's not how you are at all, is it, Libra? You rush into decisions, rush into making your mind up on things. Often you get confirmation that you're right, but you have very firm opinions, and you're something of an opinion leader. People follow you because you have these opinions, but they're ever so little bit conservative. And, you know, as I say, you probably get confirmation that you're right about them. But also, I think that in terms of getting to this position of opinion former, you've climbed a greasy pole. You've been a little bit deceptive. You've been a little bit manipulative. In fact, I think you're addicted to this power, to this sort of thing, you know. Well, you're going to get the rug pulled from under your feet, because you're going to find out that despite at times people completely agreeing with you, that isn't the same as love, respect, or even total agreement, you know. And yeah, you're going to get the rug pulled from under your feet, and it's going to feel like an end to everything. You could have avoided this by sounding out with others, by listening and appreciating and understanding the opinions of others. But that really isn't in your nature. So you're going to throw the towel in and walk away and say, bugger it. You know, if they don't appreciate me, I'm off. But what have you learned? You still have this underlying addiction to power, an underlying addiction to being right. And on offer here is the opportunity to change your ways, maybe move on to the new world that's out there. I don't think you do, but you are being offered that opportunity to do it. And that is what the universe is urging you to do, Libra.